Hey Southport Area Schools Trust, I hope you're well. It's Dan Randall here. I'm the Youth and Young Adults Director for Hope Together in the UK. We're really excited to be supporting and cheering you on in all that you're doing and have been doing over so many years, reaching children and young people across Southport and the surrounding area. If you've not heard of Hope Together, we began in 2008 calling the church to unite in mission, in word and action in our villages, towns and cities to help everyone everywhere know Jesus. And we want to continue to do that. Our passion hasn't changed, but we've listening to God, seeing what He's up to, prophetically listening, reading the research, understanding how things are changing and shifting in the nation and how we can best support and resource the church. In 2008, I was 16, 17 years old, and I heard this call to mission from the guys who began Hope 08. And it stirred something in me, it spoke to me, and I felt the call to mission, not just for that year, but for life, to share Jesus wherever I go, to help others to do the same. And we feel and know that God is stirring something in the nation, in the whole church, to go again. It's time for us to share Jesus. That actually the nation has been united in anger around so many different things, but now it's time to unite around the hope of Jesus. He is the answer to all the challenges. He is the answer to everything that we've walked through. There's a generation of people and a society of people who feel harassed and helpless and hopeless. But yet we know the hope for all humanity, don't we? And His name is Jesus. And so now is the time for us to share Jesus again. And so we're saying, hey, will you come on board? Can we add value to what you're doing with Hope 23-24, 15 years on, calling the whole church to unite in mission? We'll share a little bit more about that with you in just a second. But over to Rachel, who's going to share with you some of what we've discovered through the latest Talking Jesus research and what God is up to in this nation that we're seeing through that.
Hello, I'm Rachel Jordan-Wolfe. I'm the Executive Director of Hope Together, and I'm here today to talk to you about the Talking Jesus research. This research was first done in 2015, and I really think it changed the conversation about mission and evangelism, and that's why I'm so excited that we've redone it in 2022 with a group of wonderful other Christian organisations and partners. We used a polling company called Savanta, who poll for lots of other organisations, and they did a big sample of 4,000 UK adults with a 10-minute online survey. 3,115 of those UK adults are in the sample, and 917 are in our practicing Christian sample, so that we can tell you some specific things about the church as well. That will help. And there is a small margin of error of 1.54%, which is about what you would normally find in these kind of polls. So bear that in mind as we go forward. The research was done just at the beginning of this year, and it will help us to have a snapshot, if you like, and help us to shape our strategy. So the first thing we wanted to know is, what is the state of faith in the UK at the moment? 48% of the UK population would say that they're Christian. Now, we know they're not all in church on a Sunday, but these are the people who would tick that they're Christian on a census. And this is the number that often gets reported in newspapers or on social media, as it is actually slowly declining, because it's the decline of people who would say that they were culturally Christian. Whilst this is declining, other things are rising. In 2015, only 11% of the population said that they were none of the above when asked this question about religious affiliation. And as you can see, that's risen to 26% in 2022. This is particularly growing amongst our younger generations. And they have got a very different world, if you like, that they're inhabiting to our older generations. We recognise that 48% obviously are not all part of the team for mission and evangelism, and we really wanted to know how big that team was and what is their influence. So we looked at measures that would help us to maybe bring that down to a group that we could see if that is changing in the population. So we looked at those who attended church monthly but who read their Bibles weekly and prayed weekly. That comes down to 6%. It was 7% in 2015, and that really isn't any different. It's not significantly different. And that means that this cohort of practicing Christians has stayed really steady. So we've got a decline in the number of people who would tick Christian, but we've got a really steady cohort of those who are practicing Christians. And what is brilliantly good news for the church is that cohort is staying steady right the way through all the different generations. So although many of our practicing Christians are being promoted to glory, we're replacing them really well with the younger generations of practicing Christians. And that is fantastic good news for the church. Those younger generations aren't missing when you look at practicing Christians. We then wanted to look and find out what people thought about Jesus more widely. So we asked whether people thought Jesus was God in human form, a normal human being, a prophet, or a spiritual leader. Something about Jesus, because that's who we want them. If you like, we want to know what they think about Jesus. We're not a business, he's not a product, but if you like, if we were a marketing company, that is the person. That's who we really want the response about. 20% of the population said that Jesus was God in human form who lived among people in the first century. That's staggeringly good news for us. And 33% thought that he was a prophet or spiritual leader. And if you remember the slide before, that's a lot bigger than the portion of the population who would say that they were Muslim. So there's a lot of people who have some, if you like, understanding of Jesus as a spiritual leader. And that would be a great conversation starter with them. Now, hold on to your seats. This is the stat that everybody is always shocked by. We asked whether or not the UK population believed in the resurrection of Jesus from the dead. If you like, in an age where science is supposed to disprove spiritual things, you can see that the population is still, so many of them, 45% of them are still saying that they are able to tick on a form that they believe in the resurrection. Admittedly, 16% is word for word as in the Bible, but then there is this amazing group of 29% who have some belief in the resurrection. I'd love to have more conversations with them and do a more deeper dive. But this tells you that these people will turn up in your church on Easter Sunday, and you have an incredible opportunity to help them understand that the resurrection isn't about some distant hope, it's also about the here and now and being part of the resurrection community of followers of Jesus and the impact of that power for their life today. What an incredible invitation we've got to offer them as we get when we get to doing Easter. But it's an amazing statistic. It's held up. It was 43% in 2015 and it's held up for 2022. Great news for the church. We then wanted to dig a little bit deeper into what's happening with the people outside the church. And so we asked a new question for 2022, which is, where would you go to find out about the Christian faith? And we asked this of the non-Christians. And of course, the first answer that came back is the same, that if I asked you, how would you find out what holiday to go to, if you wanted to know what the weather was like today, or wanted to know about a new pair of shoes and what people thought about them, we would all go to Google. And Google came out as 26% of non-Christians said that's where they would start searching. This is really important for us. We are living in a digital age and we need to think digitally when we think about mission and evangelism. It's really important. But it's not the only place. 22% said going to a local church or reading the Bible. Don't you love it? The Word of God, powerfully speaking. And that is somewhere people would know to go to. And they know to come to you in your church on a Sunday to find out more about the Christian faith. And that comes out quite clearly through this, that we have a missional opportunity every Sunday. We should be expecting, actually, this is somewhere where people would come. And if you look at this, not just at the non-Christians, but if you look at that group that we had of non-practicing Christians, 6% practicing, that other group, loads of those said that they would come to a local church. That even higher came up the list when they were trying to find out more about the Christian faith. It shows us it's really important what we do on a Sunday. We then wanted to dig deeper. We wanted to know what our reach was, if you like, how many of those non-Christians know one of us who's a practicing Christian. If you like, how big is our mission opportunity that we've already got, and how big is the work that we've got to do to get to know other people who are not Christian in the population. 53% of those who are non-Christians said they knew one of us who is a practicing Christian. If I could beep now, I would. Maybe I should beep, because this is a real wake-up call. In 2015, 68% of the non-Christians in this country knew one of us who's a practicing Christian. And this has dropped, and it is a significant drop statistically, to 53%. So we need to do something to maintain our reach to non-Christians. We need to inhabit new spaces, make new friends, and go out there intentionally to get to know people so that they have the opportunity to find out more about Jesus. We asked how they knew us, and it was friend and family. So they know us really, really well. We are mostly their Christian friends and their Christian family. And so these relationships for mission evangelism are close. They're not far away, they're close, which is really good news for the church. And then we asked them, what do they think of us? Do they like us, or do they have opinions of us that are negative, so that we could know how to communicate our Christian message? Well, the fantastic good news for the church is they like us. 62% of the non-Christians who know a practicing Christian said that that person that they know is friendly. That is our overwhelming trait. We're friendly, we're caring, hey, we're even good-humoured and generous. What an amazing description. This one statistic I have seen, and it's very similar to 2015, it raises the confidence level in the church. If I say that I'm a Christian to someone who isn't a Christian, that doesn't mean they're going to think ill of me. Actually, it's a really positive, good news. They are still going to really like us, and that's fantastically good news and should bring confidence to the church. We then asked, have they had a conversation? So has the Christian, we asked the non-Christian, has that Christian friend or family member or neighbour had a conversation with you about the Christian faith? And 55% said yes. So then we wanted to know, how did that conversation go? Well, this is amazing. In 2015, it was only about half of those people who were comfortable in that conversation. And this has gone up to 75%. 75% of the non-Christians who've had a conversation with a practicing Christian are saying they're comfortable in that conversation. And this is fabulous. 33% of those people who've had that conversation, non-Christians who've had a conversation with a Christian, 33% of them want to know more about Jesus Christ. And that's right now. That's right now. There are people who want to know more about Jesus because they've had a conversation with a practicing Christian. And what's more, 36% of those non-Christians who've had a conversation with a Christian are open to an experience or encounter with Jesus. That's such good news for the church. In 2015, it was about 1 in 5, which is why we started Pray for 5. It's now about 1 in 3. So about 1 in 3 of our friends and family and people that we know, when we have a conversation about Jesus, want to know more about him. So we need to find those people. And statistically, we know that they are out there wanting to know more about Jesus. Then we looked, whilst we had this big oversample of practicing Christians, we wanted to find out how they came to faith. And we asked them at what age they came to faith. This is a really important slide for you in Christian leadership because 33% of us said it was from birth. How important is it, our Christian families and that place of nurture for bringing and helping people to come to faith? And then can you look at this slide and see all of the age bracket added up to the age of 18? That's where so many of us are making decisions for Jesus. So we need to invest our resources into reaching children, families and young people. It's really, really important. And not just those in the church, but also young people currently outside of the church, not in Christian families. That's where so many of us have made decisions about Jesus. But there is also really good news for the church here. It's not just children and young people. There are also, which really clearly up from 2015, that we are reaching adults in all different age demographics, right across the age and generational cohorts. People are coming to faith in their adult years. This is possible, it happens, and we can see that statistically. So we need to carry on looking to reach them. So how did people come to faith? We asked people to choose 1 or 2 or 3 influences, key influences that were on their journey to faith. 34% said growing up in a Christian family. So once again, that resonates with the slide before, how important it is that we invest in our Christian families. And then 24% said reading the Bible. I love the fact that God speaks for himself and brings people to faith when they read the Bible. Attending a church service, again, if you remember, we pointed that out earlier. It's really important. What we do on a Sunday brings people to faith. There's Sunday school, there's a spiritual experience, there's conversations with a Christian you knew well, a life event, positive or negative, responding to the gospel at an event. There is a whole pile of other things that you're going to see just flashing up here on the slides. Attending a Christian school, visiting a church building, a youth club, Christian printed media, conversations with Christians you didn't know well, attending an online church service, going to an introductory course like Alpha or Christianity Explored, Christian content on social media, It keeps going, and in fact you can see that only 2% said other, so we thought of most of them, people. Church wedding or funeral, Christian union, individual churches outreach programme. Now, they're all there, and you're not going to remember them all, but what I want to do is just go back to the key ones. So all of those are there, but what's really coming out on top is Christian families, reading the Bible, church services, spiritual experiences, Sunday school and conversations. Now, we also asked people about, so that's everybody who came to faith. So remember, many of those are talking about experiences under the age of 18. So I broke the data for those over the age of 18. Over the age of 18, the number one key influence was a life event, either negative or positive, that was helping people to come to faith at 23%. Then it was Christian family at 21%, so still vital and really important, even for adults who are coming to faith. A church service, again, a physical church service, 21%. And actually, do you know, 7% said online, which just goes to show the growth of the online service in influencing people to come to faith, which is amazing. 19%, how wonderful again, it was the Bible, God speaking on his own terms. 18% was conversations with a Christian that this person knew well, showing the importance of all this work on getting people to talk. 13% was responding to the gospel at an event or a service where people were specifically asked to respond and make that decision. So we need to remember how important that is. 11% visiting and praying in an open church. So keeping our church buildings is really vital, keeping them open for mission and evangelism. 10% was Christian media, written Christian media, books, pamphlets, the things that we hand out and give people to read to help them take a next step. And 8% was a conversation with Christians that they didn't know well. If you look at that with the conversations with Christians that you do know well, you realise how important it is to get us all talking Jesus. So this really helps us to look at what we should be looking at to reach adults. And I'll make sure that this data also gets up in a format so that you can find it. But that helps us to realise that some of this is great influences for children and young people, but life events are really key. When big things happen in people's lives as adults, that's often when they're making that decision to come to faith. I hope you've really enjoyed listening. I'd love to answer all your questions. Not able to do that in this form, but you can email us and you can find out more on the Talking Jesus website. Hope 23-24. Why now? Really simply, the question that most of the population are asking in the UK right now is, will everything be okay? Because their worlds have been shaken. We can't put our trust in economic systems or world leaders or in our health or in all the other things that we would normally build a life upon. The foundations have been shaken and they've been found to be wanting. And we know there's only one foundation in which to build life and country and actually even world peace on. And his name is Jesus. And that's why right now is the time to offer Jesus in the UK in Hope 23-24.
Hi, I'm Agu Iruku. I'm Senior Pastor at Jesus House. And part of the leadership of the Redeemed Christian Church of God here in the United Kingdom. Looking forward to an amazing time of mission, the church coming together, showing its strength in unity as we serve our community in Hope 23-24. It promises to be an amazing time, and I do hope if you're a leader in a church, your church will be involved. If you're part of or head a parachurch ministry, that you will be involved. There's just strength when we come together as the church.
So my dream is that we could mobilize the church working together in unity to transform communities, villages, towns and cities. This is the moment for us to seize the opportunity and to go for it. Let's all unite for the purpose of 23-24.
We want to see every generation equipped, but particularly the younger generation. There's a generation growing up who have not had this national experience of mission, where they feel connected across the nation and beyond, being light, love and life into dark spaces and dark places, in schools and colleges, universities, in their streets, their social media. We're believing that this is the time to equip and empower a generation to step up, to see their generation reached and impacted with the love of Jesus through words and action. Now is the time.
Join us. Whether you just want to do this as an individual where you're going to join us in prayer and talking to your one friend, whether you are able to do this as a group, a community together, either on your street or through your church, we need you all. The mission of Jesus is made up by the ones that make up the many, and we want you all to be called to join in. Let's do this together. Let's make so much noise that nobody in the UK who is searching for an answer right now won't find one, because we offer the hope of Jesus Christ together.
And so we're so excited for Hope 23-24 because this is for the whole church. We want to see youth and children empowered and inspired to live missionally for Jesus, but we want to see the whole church equipped in villages, towns and cities. And the reason we're running it Summer 23 to Summer 24 academic year isn't just for our amazing partners like yourselves who are focused on youth and children's ministry, but actually for the whole church to think about as we gather in the summer through different festivals and gatherings, to commission people in this and then to celebrate next summer, Summer 24, the story of what God has done. Through gatherings like what yourselves are doing and other things, to really see the story of mission perpetuated through time, over the years and beyond this year. You know, we know that we live in shaky times and uncertain times, and we have this certain gospel and the certainty that Jesus is the same yesterday, today and forever, as the scriptures tell us. And also what we want to say is, as we bring the gospel as, together, not us, but us together, we want Hope 23-24 to add value to what you are doing, to put fuel on the fire of what God is doing in your area and what you are up to. We don't want this to be us bringing our thing, but us adding value to what you're up to and how you are working with God. The top question people seem to be asking, as you heard just before, is, will everything be okay? And so now is the time, now is the opportunity for us to share Jesus with others like never before. And so let's do it together. Locally, unity just thrived across this country during the pandemic and briefly at the back of the pandemic. But now is the time for us to choose unity intentionally, to work together to see the gospel advanced and see the kingdom of God advance and the church grow and be built with Jesus together as we reach out to others and we see others experience Jesus in all sorts of different spaces and places. We love and want to celebrate what you guys are up to in Southport and the area because we love the stories of the local. We want to champion what you guys are doing and speak about that and encourage others in your ways of innovating and sharing Jesus in all sorts of different spaces. But I want to say this particularly about the younger generation to finish, that now is the time to really release and empower them, a generation who is saying, yeah, we're all in if you give us a cause. And actually we need to give them the cause of Jesus, to share him with others. Yes, we want to see them be fully devoted followers of him, but living this out in their space and places. It changed my life in 2008, and I want to see it inspire and speak to so many others to call them into a life of missional living. It's time for us to offer the hope of Jesus to a nation that is looking for answers and hope. So please, I invite you, let's get on board. Let's do this together. Hope 23-24. It's going to be awesome.
Brilliant. So we are here for a workshop. We are not here just to hear a message and then walk away. We're here to work out what can we actually do about what we've just heard. What can we as the church do to bring hope to our communities? And so this is discussion, which means we are going to have to talk. And, you know, you might not know these people, but there are some lovely people around the room. So if you're not presently at a big round table, you are all invited to be part of a big round table. So Vernon, give me a little wave. If you're not currently on a big round table, come and join this table over here, this friendly table. If you are a volunteer or you are on one of the other jobs, come and join too. There is nothing that you need to do right now apart from be part of the discussion. Come and see what other people are thinking. Work out what we can do. So please do come and join in. If we need anything doing, we'll come and ask you. But all should be fine. Come and join the table. And we've got a little bit of time. I've got 3 different sheets of paper that are on your tables for you to work through as a group. And the first thing is thinking about the research that we've just heard. What stands out to you? What stands out to you in that research? And therefore, how does that help us to work out how we reach young people? How does that help us to inform what we do? How we bring hope? And then secondly, we've got the top reasons that people come to faith. When you look at those top reasons, what does that mean about what we should be doing as the church? Specifically, those things like growing up in a Christian family. What can we do to help Christians to disciple their family, to help the children and young people of their family and adults of their family to know God? Reading the Bible, attending church service. How could we make our church services friendly for people that don't know God, for people that need hope? How do we not make it a club that you have to be in, otherwise, never mind? How can we make this a welcoming space where people can come and find out more about God? There's lots of different things there. And then finally, the idea of Hope 23-24 is for us to actually do things. For us as the church to actually get involved in our communities, as some of us are doing, but to do that more and to work together perhaps with other people. And so the final thing is for you to actually plan some sort of outreach together, or it might be a new weekly thing that you might do. A lot of you go to different churches. It might be something that you might pretend you're doing as a group. What could you do to reach out to the community specifically? What's an idea that you can do? And over on our resources table, there are lots of things that you could utilize. Feel free to go over and take a few things and think, how can we use these to help people to find out more about Jesus, to help people find hope? So you are more than welcome to wander and go and get anything that you want for your table. You're welcome to chat on your table about these 3 different ideas, and we'll see how you get on.
And just to say for anyone watching on the live stream, hello, the link to download a PDF of these resources is saswtrust.com/hope. So it's on there. You can download that. Everyone in the room is currently looking at me like a weirdo because I'm not talking to them. But this is the world we live in. Hybrid events, eh? So yeah, you can do that, and you can use your own time and take part in the exploration too.
Get chatting. Great question. Just go. Brilliant. Okay, let's take a pause there. Don't worry if you didn't get onto some of the different activities. That is not a problem at all. You can continue these conversations, perhaps in the break time, or you might have other people you connect with and you can discuss with them some of the things that we've talked about. So is there anything from our tables that anyone would like to share with the rest of the group? Anything you discussed that you think, oh, that was really good. That was a really good discussion. Or that was a fantastic idea that we can share with other people. I'm going to come to the talkie table. Because, you know, if there are a bunch of talkers on this table...
We haven't got past page 1.
You haven't gone past page 1. That's okay. Is there anything on page 1 that was really important?
Well, thank you. We picked up on various bits and pieces about church needing to be inspiring and uplifting. If we did some on the stats, but about how reaching young people with the good news. Using music and visual aids, as today. Utilising multimedia in a digital age. And knowing where to direct people when it comes to media. But what really challenged me was when Patrick said, what are we prepared to sacrifice to include unchurched people in our churches? And Tracy, because we can't just add things to our services. We've got to think about the whole thing and what do we not need in there if we're to attract people who don't know anything about church.
Yeah, I think some of the questions are, who is this for? And some of the things that we do as churches are for us as a family. And some of the things that we do are for us to connect with other people that aren't currently part of our family and we want to be. You got another thought, Patrick?
I just love Tracy's analogy that actually, as a family, when you're watching TV, you tend to watch for the youngest person and what they want to watch and something that's suitable for them. And I found that a really helpful analogy.
Brilliant, thank you. That's interesting. No, we're all good? Fantastic. Let's come over to... Oh, Steve, you're going to be the talker. Finish your mouthful. Auntie Joy will tell you off if you talk with your mouthful. She's not listening, it's all right.
Hello, what do you want to know? Well, we thought the stats about number of people that believe in the resurrection. Absolutely amazing. And the number of people that would say that Jesus was God, despite not calling themselves Christians. That was wild. The feelings towards Christians, we were trying to put ourselves in the shoes of what if our friends, family, colleagues had been in the people that were interviewed. Would they have said those things about us? That, okay, I know a Christian who's caring and generous and not hypocritical and not against me, but, someone who cares about me. Would they have said that? That conversations with friends are so important. And we were thinking about the digital age, about online church. I was just sharing an anecdote that we've had 3 or 4 people walk into Canning Road because they've Googled Southport Evangelical Church, and we came up top. So, thinking about some of these keywords and what are people searching for that we can give them local answers to instead of them finding some other bizarre answer online, that they find a local answer that invites them to participate in a church community. So there's a bit of that. As for do you want a bit of the post-it stuff? How do we reach our kids? How do we model to them and give our children purpose so that we don't just make them part of a good rules Christian club, but we give them something to live for, do the things that Jesus did? And faith that comes through life events, giving people hope and in God's faithfulness. How do we support family? And just making the Bible more accessible to people. Your mum was telling us some awesome stuff about Community Grocery that the Message runs in Burnley, and looking at that is so successful at drawing people up into volunteerism and then drawing them up into faith as well, and how can we do that through the things that we're already doing rather than putting on a new programmed event. What can we do to make more effective the stuff that we're already doing? Sound good?
Yeah, fantastic. That's a great thought because young people really care about things. Like, particularly in terms of social action, needs in the community, things that are unfair, things that are not right, people that need to be stood up for. Young people care about these things. They care about the environment and they care about different issues in society far more than other people. They stand up against racism better than any other generation. They do things that support other people. They raise thousands of pounds for causes because they notice what's wrong in our world and they want to fix it. They're the doers, the generation that we're talking about. They're the doers. They're the ones that are going to fix our world. And so things like Community Grocery, different things that are going on that we can get children and young people involved in. They can volunteer, they can be part of things. They are part of our church community, no matter what age they are. And even if they're not of faith yet, getting them involved in a cause might actually help them to understand more about faith. So yeah, fantastic thoughts. I love it. Brilliant.